we cut off the bottom of the skirt to make the straps, and this has side seams. So I'm going to go ahead and cut right at the side seams to separate this into 2 straps. And then while they're flat, or still on their own, just attached, let's give them a good press. So let's see what we have. I'm going to set them in the bag, place them pinned, and see whether it works as is. I have slight concerns about them being too short. Then I'll have to think about what to do if that's the case. Indeed, I did a fitting, meaning I just wore this bag on my shoulder, and definitely exactly right, so this will be really cool. The straps are done. I ended up hand stitching. With a machine it was just too, it did not help. So it was easier by hand stitching, mostly invisible. I used contrasting thread, so you can see it on the back, but barely in the front. I just followed the existing line of stitching to attach the straps. So the bag is done. Like this could be just worn like that, but I do want to put in the lining. It's time to come back to the lining, and it's all evened out and cut. So what I'm going to do is to do all the seams actually. So do the side seams and then also do the bottom seam. The lining is all prepped and ready to go, so it's all sewn on the sides, the bottom. It's a pocket now. So we do want to keep it inside out as it is now, and we want to form the corners the same way we did with the bag. So this begins by lining bottom seam to side seam to make a point. And you want to pin that securely. And do the same on the other side. Alright, so now let's see how this will line up with the bag. So you want to turn the bag inside out. And then place the lining next to it. So you got your bag inside out, lining inside out. Line up the bottom seam of the lining to the bottom seam on the bag. The bag has its corners, so does the lining. And what we want to do is to match the corners together and pin them. Line them up and pin them. So when you're pinning the corners, you want to pin the corner of the lining to the corner of the bag, and then put a row of pins. And this is where we're going to stitch. All the pinning so far was temporary pinning. All pinning is temporary, but we will stitch where we pinned so far. But once you attach the two corners together, you want to put a row of pins that is along parallel to the stitching that we did on the bottom of the bag. And you want that row of stitching to be above it. So you want it to be where the corner is and not where the base of the bag is. So make those two corners match, and then find where the stitching is. It's underneath, but find it, and then place a pin just shy of the row of stitching. This is a test drive, so I am putting a lot of pins. I want this to behave as if this were already stitched. And do the same on the other side. So there, this one is matched point to point, and I put a row of pins right above the row of stitching on the bag. Test drive. Turn this and see what it looks like. Okay, let's see if this has a chance of working before we do any stitching. So what you want to do is you want to take your bag and turn it right side out. And now you have your bag and you have the lining inside your bag. So see how it fits. See what it looks like. It's kind of like a fitting. Look at it. Remember the hammock? Hopefully that's not happening because there's no retrieving that at this point. Maybe there is. Maybe if you pin differently. Mine is looking really good, and then it will go up quite high, so I'll have to see. I'll do that decision at the end. We'll do the top last, so we'll work on that. But for now, put this back, well actually just like that. Take everything apart again, everything inside out. And you want to take that to your machine and stitch where we put this whole horizontal row of pins. It simply was easier, and I think took almost, doing it on the machine would have taken almost the same amount of time. I tried one. The lining has been prepped. Oh, that was cocoa this time.